Okay, Ty, I think about this.
I'm so nervous.
I actually think about this quite a bit, and probably since COVID made it even more complicated. But especially for males, there are way too many handshake options.
Oh,
I'm already like kind of an awkward person, like when I meet someone, because I'm trying so hard or I'm thinking so hard of like what to do and remember name, everything like that. But like now there's post like in COVID, there's like fist bumps got really big, and then even the elbow for a bit when they said don't even fist bump, and then there's like the handshake that, in my opinion, you do with like older folk that you're
yeah,
meeting for the first time. Then there's like the dap up you
yeah,
do with your buddies that turns into a hug, but
yeah.
then some people hold on to your hand and bring the hand in with them. Some people just slap the hand and then hug. Some people just go hand and then into like a fist clasp. There's way too many handshake options. And I think there should be like some sort of like,
Code?
yeah, like just do one or like three, like hug the people that you're close to, shake hands with people that it's more professional. And then like, I don't know, like, I think maybe that should be it.
It's funny because last night I was at an event and there was this cameraman who we spent some time together over the course of the evening and it was a lot of fun, just like a good human being. Like he was like probably 6'5". So I'm looking up at him the whole night. And then at the end we were, kind of saying our goodbyes and I, he went in for the handshake, but I kind of went in for like the handshake / dap. And it
There's
was
nothing
almost like
worse.
I like started leaning forward and I like actually had to use my toes to like bring myself back because he just went in for like the regular handshake. And then I'm thinking, I was like, first off, I'm embarrassed. Second off, that was awkward. Third off, I'm like, okay, maybe we're not at that level yet, but also I agree. Like there should be like a some sort of like code of conduct of like, okay, if you've known this person for how many years, then this is
Hmm.
what you do. But yeah, like,
Yeah,
and then there is like that normal handshake that in turn kind of turns into like a dap that in turn goes into a hug.
it's crazy.
There's a lot going on. And then also like the amount of times where I've like went in for like the fist bump and then the guy goes in for like the dap and then I'm like, oh my God, like now I feel bad because I'm like, I didn't know we were there yet and I'm sorry.
There's nothing worse. And then like, oh, I could keep going on, but like it's so awkward. And like sometimes you're with like, say you see your buddy that you're like really close with, you dap him up, but then he's with somebody
Yeah.
that you're like not as close with.
What do you
Then you
do?
switch and go to like there's just way too much going on, and there's nothing worse than an awkward handshake. And then you're thinking about it for the next
I had no idea where
hour.
this was going to go, and it's something I feel like I've thought about, but never actually put like thought into about like how many options. And obviously, COVID like
Mhm.
just like completely changed our array of options. Because now, like, I mean, the fist bump was a big thing, but like now the fist bump is like a bigger thing.
I don't mind the
And
fist bump.
it's quick, it's easy. I think it's still meaningful, especially when you have like
Mhm.
that perfect fist bump where like your knuckles interlock and it's like this feels so good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you there's just so many, and we could go on and on about this. But welcome back to another episode of the Speak Your Mind podcast, powered by TorchPro. I am your co-host Tyler Smith. Joined with me, as always, is my boy from Switzerland and his wooden spoon, Riley Cheyenne. Today, we had the absolute pleasure of bringing on Sam Gagner, and I think most people attribute Sam Gagner to 8-point night, World Juniors, this that, but I think it was so interesting to peel back the layers with Sam. He just had his 1,000th game, which is an incredible feat, but also just like his overall perspective and like to hear how it's kind of changed over these past couple of years and to hear like the support systems he's had. And I mean, it was really quite eye opening in the sense where he was one of the first guys that's like talked about how him and his team are good with chatting and good with checking in and good with allowing these rookies who have maybe only played a handful of NHL games like have an opinion too and share their perspective. And I said it at the end of the episode, but I honestly just really enjoyed this, and you can just tell that he's a guy that means a lot to a team, and I think that is such a refreshing thing to hear and to see. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I was fortunate enough to play with Gags for a little bit in Edmonton, and I thought it'd be great having him on just for all the reasons, like you just said. And I think a lot of the topics and things that we covered today just all circled back to what you said, communication. And it's kind of our goal with this podcast is to open up those lines and to understand that other people are having those conversations and it's helping them, and we're having those conversations and it's helping us, and he's having those conversations within his team with his kids, and only positives come from that. So yeah, it was great. Obviously, he just accomplished that 1,000 game mark, which is absolutely amazing. And we're very happy for him, and he's even got some gas left in the tank. So we're wishing him all the best, and we had a great chat. All right, Gaggy, thanks for joining the Speak Your Mind crew. We're super excited to have you after a big accomplishment, 1,000 games. What's been going on?
Not much. Yeah, it was an emotional time kind of leading up to that, having friends and family in town and, trying to stay healthy and all that. But yeah, it was awesome. The way the Jets handled it, the ceremony, my teammates, the organization, everybody. It was just like it wasn't something I expected. Only being here for 30 something games, they just rolled out the red carpet and made me feel great. So it was, I'm appreciative of everything. So it was awesome.
How was the actual game, like that process of just like warming up, trying to kind of keep it in the back of your mind, but also get ready to play? And was that overwhelming?
No, for sure. Well, there was nerves around it. We did it a little differently. Like sometimes you play the game and you do the ceremony the next game. But just with the timing of it being around Christmas, and that's when my family and friends would come in. We did it where the ceremony was the day of the game. So the guys got me a present in the morning, and there's hoopla in the morning, and you're like, well. And then we had an optional morning skate, and I'm like, I'm not going to go on. I'm not going to risk, getting hurt in morning skate. And then you're going through warm-ups in the game, and my buddies brought all these like fat heads that of me, and they're sitting in the corner, and I'm like, you're aware of it all. I'm wearing the 1,000 jersey, so you're aware of what's happening, and you're like, I got to get through warm-ups and take a shift to actually play the 1,000th, and then the ceremony happens, and you see my wife and kids and my parents, and there's a lot of emotions around that. My kids are starting to understand what I do, and that's the coolest thing for me. My oldest son Cooper, he like sits on the glass and watches warm up like so intently now, and he's so into it. So I was aware of that. What my wife has meant to this journey and keeping me sane through it all, and pushing me through it all. And then my parents, obviously, you know what it's like, how much your parents are involved in your development as a player, as a person. So all those emotions kind of kept roaring back, and I hadn't even played the game yet. So yeah, it was an emotional time, but it was awesome, and yeah, something I'll never forget.
Yeah, it's shed any tears? Quick question there. Do you shed any tears?
I actually did. At different times I did. It's just, yeah, I mean, like I look at my journey and kind of what I've been through from a hockey adversity perspective. I mean, it's not, the adversity I've been through is nothing compared to, what a lot of people go through. But from a hockey perspective, I've, been in the minors, been up and down. And, there's a lot of soul searching that goes through that, and a lot of, leaning on people. And when those people are around as you're leading up to it, the people that have supported you, that's all you think about, the relationship you built, and how much goes into something like that, and how much help you need to get there. So I thought about that a lot. And then my son and my dad read the opening lineup, and I was so nervous for Cooper. He's 7 years old, and he crushed it, and I was really emotional around that too. So yeah, it was an emotional time. thankful kind of it's, I had a great time, but I'm thankful it's over. And now
Yeah,
I can just focus on playing hockey. But yeah, it was awesome.
it's good.
I think it's interesting because I think we've chatted with guys who have played 1,000, and I mean, congratulations to you. That's an amazing achievement. And like reflection, I mean, is
Mm-hmm.
it like leading up to it, like you really start thinking? Because I think we've talked to a lot of guys that, or even like NFL guys that, you get so caught up in like the grind and like just like the go, go, go of it. Like you
Mm-hmm.
never really, even after a season, I think it's just like such a relief sometimes to just like not be done, but just be like, okay, I can,
Mm-hmm.
relax and just like rest. And
Mm-hmm.
you almost don't want to go through that like reflection process. But like this
Mm-hmm.
obviously is the time where it's like, okay, like this is 1,000 games. Like I
Yeah.
need to actually like, almost take some time to like look back and like hold myself accountable and be like, this has taken a lot. And there's been a lot of people that have like been along for this ride. And like, was that a process that you kind of tried to go through, or was it just like
Mm-hmm.
automatic because of like the achievement?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think everyone has a different journey to that point. There's 370 something players that have gotten to the 1,000 mark, and everyone has a different journey to get there. I think for some, they kind of feel like it's a foregone conclusion they're going to get there. I didn't feel that way because of some of the things I had gone through hockey wise. I mean, the year I got sent down to the Marlies, I got sent down twice by Vancouver. The first time you get sent down, you're like, you're disappointed, but you feel like, I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to make it back. And then I had a good start and got called up and then get sent down again. And that's when you start to question, is this it? And I think I had played 700 something games at that point. And yeah, I mean, it takes a lot of help mentally to get through that. I mean, um, you have to have hard conversations. You have to open yourself up. And yeah, I mean, I thought about that a lot as the game was approaching. Um, and I'm just so thankful for the support in my life. Like I said, I can't say enough good things about my wife and the sacrifice she's made to not only help me through my struggles, but move our family around and take care of everything behind the scenes. And yeah, I mean, she's a rock star, and like it's just, yeah, so seeing her up there. And yeah, I mean, for sure there was a lot of reflection, but there's also the, okay, I have to play good in game 1,000, and then I have to play good in game 1,001. And you're still in the middle of it, right? So those are things that, it's kind of a balance, and it's a struggle to but yeah, I mean, there was just a lot of emotions around it for sure.
Do you like write anything out, or do you like talk to anyone to like put words to it? I know like it's weird talking to people about like journaling or like
Hmm.
even just like writing down your thoughts, but like I know you're like a healthy like, guy into like wellness, biohacking,
Hmm.
whatever it is.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
like, do you do anything like that, or is it more just kind of sit there, kind of let your thoughts come to you, like talk to Rach or your dad or whoever, like people that
Yeah,
are important to you, or do you put pen to paper and kind of
yeah.
try to like,
I wish I did that more, to be honest. It's something my dad has talked to me about a lot. Journaling, it's something he did when he played, writing things down when things are going well, when things aren't. Understanding the reasons behind that, and being able to reflect on it and make changes. And it's just not something that's ever really come natural to me. I mean,
mhm.
I think when things are going well, I'm like, yeah, I want to write things down. I want to, yeah, like let's, and then, you go through dips in your game, and you feel down yourself, and you're like, I don't want to write it down. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want the way I'm feeling on paper. Right. So that somebody else can read it. But, yeah, I mean, I think it's important to be able to get your thoughts out somehow and be able to have that dialogue. I try and talk to people about it as much as I can. I mean, um, Nate Schmidt's my partner on the plane, and he's
He's
kind of
a
the same
talker
way.
too, isn't he?
Yeah.
That's what I heard.
So, I mean, some of the conversations we have in the plane, I feel for the guys that are sitting around us, because we just go down that rabbit hole. But it's great to be able to lean on teammates, to lean on family, to lean on friends, and it helps those relationships grow stronger. I think about the relationship I have with my wife, the relationship I have with my parents, my friends, some of my teammates. Like, that's all because of the adversity I've gone through in the game, and the fact that I'm able to share those things with them, and they're able to share things that they've had a hard time with. And I'm a really big believer in relationships and the value that those bring. And I when I look back on my career, like, those are the things that I'm going to miss the most, is those relationships that I've built, and I'm really thankful for them.
Yeah. Do you find it hard, like, kind of pushing that question, like, because you've played since you were in Edmonton, you've kind of bounced around, and then you're in Detroit for 2 years, but it's kind of been like a little bit of instability, or is instability the right word? I guess lack of stability.
Yeah.
I found that hard. Like, when I was in Detroit, then in Pittsburgh, then everything was 1 year, and I feel like I'm similar to you in that, like, I would get to be part of a team and I'd make these friendships, and then I'd just be somewhere else afterwards after 8 months of spending time with the guys. And I'm like, oh man, like, I really could have blossomed a friendship with so and so, and this could have lasted, like, but then you're just taken away, and it's just too hard to keep in touch with
Yeah.
everybody. Do you find, like, that's got to be challenging for you, would you say? Or like,
Yeah.
how,
No,
how do you navigate through that?
it's really hard. It's something that my wife and I talk about a lot. I mean, for our kids, moving them to different places, and taking away from some of their friends. I mean, they're young and they're adaptable, but it's still, I went through it when I was a kid with my dad playing and moving around to different places. And I know it can be a struggle at times. And then, yeah, for us as well. I mean, she's involved in a new, wives group everywhere we go, and trying to establish herself there. And it's harder because you don't see them every day. For us players, it's, you're at the rink every day. But yeah, it's still a struggle. You're trying to find your place within a team on the ice, and then you get friendships off the ice, and feel, find guys that you're comfortable enough to have those conversations with, those hard conversations that help you to grow as a person, help your team grow. I think coming to Winnipeg, we had those conversations in training camp about being able to communicate as a group, and be vulnerable, and we're all in this together, and we've been able to check in on that kind of once a month, of where we're at as a team. How are we communicating? How are we doing on the ice? How are we as a team, as a group? And I think, personally, for me, it's helped me immensely. Just having that dialogue, it's helped me to grow within the team framework, a lot quicker than I think I would have on some other teams. And I think it's a testament to kind of the leadership group here that took those steps, the coaching staff, all that. And we're halfway through the season here, and I feel like I'm a
Doing pretty
big
well.
part of the group, and that's
Yeah.
great. And I've developed friendships, and but it takes hard work. So it's something that I don't know where my journey is going to take me from here, but it's something that I'm going to be really cognizant of, as I navigate the rest of my life. Just making sure that the lines of communication are open with whatever group I'm a part of, so that we can have that growth.
Yeah.
I love this. This is awesome. I think this is exactly why, I think from the outside, people did have the Winnipeg Jets as, a team that they think could do it. And to see that success now, I think just like completely translates to, what you guys want in that dressing room, and like building that culture. And I think the misconception, unfortunately, in like especially sports, is like, okay, like we got to be vulnerable and we got to talk about this and talk about that. And like in some cases, like it's not about like, I guess, like getting deep at all times, but just like being curious. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
like the best part, is like, why not be curious with the guys that you're just like constantly spending so much time with?
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of like leading into my next question of like your phases of like life. You know, like you have a dad that played in the NHL, and then you bounce to a team like early on with Edmonton, and where it's a bunch of young guys, you know, going through, you know, at times probably not the best of times, but you have your guys that you can lean on, you know, Nuge, Ebbs, Hall, Cogliano. And now you're in a position where, especially in Detroit, I mean, you had those young guys coming in. And I guess, you know, Winnipeg, it might be a little bit different because you have that like core of like leadership of guys that have
Yeah.
been through it. But you like, as you look back on it, like what has been kind of like the most eye-opening experience or like process throughout maybe those 3 phases that you can now look back on and be like, I almost wish I knew this early on, but then again, like that just like wasn't the way it was back then. Like as you kind of look back and now you say like you're in a team where maybe it's a monthly check-in, you know, we just like sit down with the guys and or even just your airplane chats with Schmidt. Like
Yeah.
I don't even really have like a set question, but like it's interesting,
Yeah.
like, you know, to look back on like that process of like not vulnerability, but just like that whole like team atmosphere.
Yeah. I mean, it's an interesting question. I think, you know, for anyone that's been in sports and been in a dressing room, you know that it's normally you have those conversations when you know, it's after a tough loss or you've kind of hit rock bottom as a group, and now it's okay. Now it's time to talk about this and what's wrong with our team and how do we fix it. And I think being here, we've made a really big point of having those conversations even when things are going well. Um, because there's still things on guys' minds, and you know, why do you have to get to rock bottom before you have those conversations, right? And every guy on the team has a different perspective of how things are going, and you know, I know for, you know, when I came in as a younger player, you didn't feel like you could speak up, and you know, even if you felt like you had something positive to say and something that could bring value to the group, you're just like, well, I got to wait my turn. And I think we've done a really good job here of, it doesn't matter if you played 1 game or 1,000 games, you have a voice and we want you to use it. I mean, when we have these check-ins with our group, it's like, okay, you know, Cole Perfetti, do you have anything to add? And might put him on the spot, but it gets him out of his shell. And then, you know, he feels more confident within the group. And now, I think it just goes a long way. I think these conversations we're having have been really important for our group and have really helped us take another step. And you know, I'm thankful to be part of a team like that. And it's yeah, it's been great so far.
And
I
there's
think
obviously,
like
oh, sorry, go ahead, Ross.
no, go. Were you going to add on to that?
No, I was definitely going to add on to it, but I was going to kind of go into my next question. So go ahead.
No, I was just going to kind of comment on like narrowing it down, kind of just to the importance of communication that you can kind of take to so many different aspects of your life. Like you talk about like all of your moments through your career, you kind of leaned on communication,
Yeah.
where the hard moments and even getting to 1,000 games to reflect, you're communicating. And I'm curious, like we haven't really had anybody on that has kids old enough to understand, like you said, like playing
Mm-hmm.
and now being a new father. Like it's like so interesting to me, especially when you talk about like having to have conversations about moving or like
Mm-hmm.
maybe things that are like hard for them. And like you
Yeah.
said, you experienced when you were young, like what is that line of communication? Like how does, I guess, like how do you navigate through that line of communication when your
Yeah.
kids are young, but you know it's important and you know they're learning? Because even my 1 year old is learning so much, and I don't even realize it.
Mm-hmm.
So like your kids are obviously older and they're taking in all this information. Like how do you approach that line of communication and amplify the importance of communication with them?
Yeah, well, I try and have those conversations with them. I check in with them. You know, how you guys feeling about being in another city? Like your new school? your teachers, friends, all that stuff. I try and talk to them about it. Would you guys be comfortable moving again, or do you like it here, or like all these different things? I have those conversations with them, and I try and help them navigate it. I think where I have the benefit is that I went through it as well, so I understand what it's like moving around as a young kid. I mean, my dad retired when I was 10, but before that point, I was kind of moving around every year, and part of big part of my dad's decision to retire was to not have to move our family again, right? And you look back on the sacrifice he made for us, and it's something I think about a lot. How is what I'm doing affecting my children, and how and their growth, and but then there's times too where I see my kid on the glass and warm up, and he's so into it, and I'm like, how I'll never have this opportunity again to be able to live this life and have my kids be a part of it and have them understand it. And then also, when I go through struggles, when I get sent down, or I get healthy scratched, or a game doesn't go the way I want, how do I respond to it? And my kids are watching. Am I gonna sit there and complain and sulk and let it get the best of me, or am I gonna fight back? Am I gonna dig in and be better for it? I'm hopeful my kids. I'm hopeful I can set a good example for my kids in those. Everyone's going to go through adversity, and how are you going to respond to it? And I think I haven't been through much life adversity. I've been through some hockey adversity, and I I think that the struggles that I've been through have made me such a I feel like a more well-rounded person, and I feel like I'm better off for them. And it's really hard to think about that when you're going through them. But I'm hopeful that my kids can look at that and learn how to handle adversity, and learn that it can make them stronger. And it's a big reason why I want to continue to do what I'm doing, and just keep playing as long as I can, as long as it doesn't affect the moving, or like the family life too much. But you know that's a big part of it, is the lessons for your children. And my kids are amazing. I'm so thankful to have them, and they give me such great perspective, and they're just they're awesome. So
And you asking those questions too, like, helps them express themselves, which I think is like a little bit of like a problem that we've seen, sort of just talking to different people. Like, a lot of problems come from everything that's suppressed. And when you can, at a young age, like, bring out expression and bring out talking about like your problems, and even if they're not solved, just being able to put them out there and have parents that'll listen, I think, I mean, it just goes back to your point of communication. But I think that's awesome.
Absolutely. Well, and the other thing too is the one thing I got from moving around with my family growing up was my sisters and my parents. Like, we're all really tight. Like, it was us. That we didn't have other family, or lifelong friends that were with us in these cities. So you become really tight with your immediate family. And I'm hopeful that my immediate family will get that with me as well, and my kids can feel like they can come to me with anything, and
Yeah.
I'm not going to judge them, and we can communicate, and then my wife and I are the first people they come to with problems, and we can help navigate them together. And I think that's a huge benefit to this career, and moving around as much as we have.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's I think it all goes to like that foundation. I think like having that like foundation of like those relationships that, are a part of your life and continue to be a part of your life is such a valuable thing, and such a vital part of like, even just like your healing journey, whatever healing journey you may be on, or growth journey. I want to talk about one, you put an emphasis on relationships, and I do enjoy people that just like have that just like solidified love for, or not love, like just like that solidified appreciation for like conversations and relationships. I have that now, and I think it's something that I look back on, and I wish I had more of that understanding. And I want to touch on like one specific relationship, Joey Moss.
Yeah.
I think you knew that we would talk about Joe because I think I had the pleasure of, finally meeting Joey, I think a year before he passed. With Sparky brought him down to the Gretzky Hockey School, and, I was helping out there, and you just like instantly feel that, no matter what is going on in your life, I mean, he can enrich that perspective of like, there's, there is good things in this world, and like you should just be able to appreciate it. And I think having that relationship with Joe at an early phase of your career, like, did that help with like that instant perspective of like, okay, like we're playing this game that we, consider a job, and we consider like, this is our life, we need to be a hockey player, but like having that presence in the room, was that able to like, just like make you instantly be like, okay, like there's bigger things in this life. And like, I want to enrich my life with like what Joey Moss enriches his life with. Like, what did you learn from Joe?
Yeah, Joey's the best. I mean, I think when we first got to Edmonton, there was a group of young guys that, me and Andrew Cogliano and Tom Gilbert and Robert Nielsen, and, the list goes on, but we just kind of made it, we're when we're going out for dinner or, whatever, we're going to a movie, Joey's coming with. And I think that, initially it created such a positive influence in our lives. Like, he was always positive. He was always happy. He was always joking around, chirping us. And he was just one of the guys. And, he, whether we won or lost, I mean, he would sometimes give it to us for losing, but it was just like his persona and his energy and everything that he brought. I mean, Andrew and I talk about it a lot, how much we miss him. He's just he's one of the best people we've ever known. I mean, and he brought so much to that community, to our dressing room, to everything. He was an amazing person.
You got one story that sticks out to you? I know I've heard a few, but
the WWE. Let's bring up some WWE action.
Yeah, we had a bunch. I mean, when I first got there, he would have he would wrestle guys in the room, and I was like, this is wild. But it was just like, he loved it. He would come out to. They'd blast Kid Rock as he was coming out, and we'd all be booing him, and he would just love being the villain. Like, he loved it. But I think I talked about this in the Players Tribune article about we went to see WWE in theaters, and we're like, this is not going to be something that anybody's going to be at. And we take him there, and he was so mad because we showed up a little bit late. And we're like, Joey, like the theater, there's going to be nobody there. It's fine. And we get there and it's full. And we're like, oh man, like, he's going to be choked. So we ended up just like sitting on the stairs, like kind of right at the front of the theater to watch. And before we know it, like, Joey's like standing in front of the big screen, and he's like doing all the moves, like John Cena, you can't see me, like doing everything. And people are cheering him on. And I'm like, this guy, like, he's got this whole theater like cheering for him. And I'm like, what an amazing, like, he had no fear to get up there and do that. And I'm like, it just speaks to the person he is, or he was. And it's just something I'll never forget.
That's awesome.
It's I grew up a huge WWE fan, so that I speak to that. I remember my parents, we owned a gym in Leduc, and my dad called me the one day, and I was in school, so they like pulled me out of class, and they're like, yeah, like there's WWE people at our gym right now, like you need to get over there. And I remember I like went over, and there was like Kane, Val Venus, and like all these people. And I think the stories about Joey, and like, just like, it's hard to put into words like what he actually brought to a team. I mean, I don't know what it is, but like, I even, did some floor hockey in Humboldt with the Special Olympics, and I got really close with Angelica was her name. And I remember like, just like having, like, she would call me her boyfriend. And like, I remember showing up to Humboldt like a year later, and I saw her on the street, and like, once you recognized me, like just like instantly ran to me and gave me the biggest hug. And I think it's just like that refreshing sense of no matter what, once again, no matter what's going on in the world, like this is what it's all about. I mean, let's just have some fun, and let's just support each other, and let's just, challenge each other. And I mean, I wanted to talk about Joe just because I know how much of a profound, relationship you guys had, and especially with that young crew. I mean, Rouse, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I guess just kind of sort of falling under the same tree as Joey. And I mean, I know the type of person you are. I actually read about another story about a boy in Vancouver too, that you kind of saw at the glass and warm-ups and tossed him a puck. And he had Down syndrome, I think, and you brought him back. David, I think, was his name. But even it kind of like ties into the Marlies stuff and Muskoka hockey stuff. Like there's obviously like a quality in you that giving back is important. Like, is that something that you kind of learned young with your family, or picked up as you realize you were given this gift and you're in an incredible spot and playing in the NHL? You wanted to pass that on and give back in certain ways. Like, how did you learn that and pick those certain moments to actually act on it?
Well, yeah, I mean, my parents are big parts of that. They're both incredible people. My mom is just, I feel like she's just constantly giving up her time for other people, and I owe a lot of that to her. But then, also I think having my dad play in the NHL and then just being around some of his teammates and understanding the impact they have. I remember like being around Jerome McGinley or Mike Modano, and some of my friends are being like, you met them? And I'm like, it's just Jerome. Like, he's my dad's buddy, And so like you start to understand the impact you can have. And so, I try to make a point of, every warm up, I toss a puck to some kid in the stands, because for me, that puck, I can get that puck anywhere, but that's a significant moment for them. And I think anytime you have the chance to do that, and I don't think I'm unique in that sense. I see it all over the league. Players understanding the impact they have, and how they can brighten somebody's day. And I just, I try and be aware of that as as I go through a season. I mean, there's going to be struggles. But those things kind of give you life throughout a season, and help you appreciate what you're going through that much more. So, I mean, it's something I try to be aware of.
That's an important thing. Like we talked about this last with Rusty, Ty, like just how much like gratitude, or like how much energy you get from giving to someone where you're making an impact. Like,
yeah.
And it's not like where you're like, oh, like I remember we were walking down the street, we were about to play Nashville, and one of our guys, when I was in Seattle, one of our guys gave a homeless man or lady who was sleeping, and he dropped like a $5 bill, and it's like, oh, like someone really wants to score tonight, like but like there's like some sort of like where you do something nice for someone, like there's such a surge of energy you get, and like positivity that's so contagious. And I always urge guys it's nice when guys like have their own initiatives. And I think when I like even reading about you guys taking over, because it's you and Johnny, right? With the Marlies.
Yeah.
I thought that was super cool because the connection to it. And then like, it's not like every kid is going to make it out of playing minor hockey and playing in the NHL like you did, but to have a good experience, to learn properly the ways of working with the team, and to have you guys backing that, I think is really cool. Like what's like your role, or what's like how much activity, or like how much of your time is required with that? Like what goes into that for you?
Well, while we're playing, Johnny and I, it's tough to be as involved as we want. We ran a camp for all the Marley kids in Muskoka this summer, and it went great. And I was able to be around for that and meet a bunch of the kids. yeah, and it was awesome. I know they're going through their season right now, so I try and check. And we have James Naylor was actually my minor hockey coach when I was growing up. He's our president, and then Dave Nicoletti, who John and I are good friends with, he's the general manager for the team and for all the teams. So we check in with them and how things are going. And but yeah, I mean, I had such a great minor hockey experience. And I know that's not the same for everybody. I think minor hockey in Canada now, it can sometimes feel like, it's a real professional environment. Like we're trying to get kids to the NHL. And I never felt that growing up, playing within the Marley organization in terms of, it was all about fun and development. And that's what, I want for the next generation of kids. Right. And I'm really thankful that I had that experience. And I'm hopeful that we can continue that within the organization. And that's our end goal, is developing great people and well-adjusted kids that are well-rounded, not just great hockey players, but they're great people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been fortunate to work in like youth hockey a little bit lately, and I mean, you see, it's so interesting because you see how much pressure these kids are facing, and I mean, I'm obviously we're different in age, but like even looking back, I mean, I really didn't feel that. I honestly thought that looking back, I honestly felt that my parents just gave us the freedom to play the game and to just have fun, to make mistakes. Don't get me wrong. My dad, the odd time would, throws 2 cents in and give you some shit. But I think just the freedom to be able to, be creative, but also just learn the game. I was having some conversations with Colby, and it is very cutthroat here in Pittsburgh, like the hockey. And I think he even just like touched on the fact that, we aren't able to just like teach the game anymore. Because I mean, unfortunately, there's so many other outstanding factors in these kids' lives that is so hard for them to just like be able to only think about the game. So I want to touch on, we talked about reflecting on the 1,000 game and your journey there, but also like in this last little bit, like, and doing these hockey camps, like, have you been able to reflect, not reflect, that's the wrong word, but like into the future? I hope that you still play five more years in the NHL, but obviously that time's coming. And have you thought about, what you want to do and where you want to kind of leave your impact? We've had so many conversations with guys that, maybe there isn't enough proactiveness in like thinking about like the after career and thinking about like post career and what am I going to do? And I think you've done such a good job of being able to insert yourself into these different environments and see, what you want to do. And I think, giving back is obviously a big part of your life, but is that something that you want to continue with? I mean, continue with hockey, continue with youth. Is that something that you've thought about?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel very fortunate to have had the upbringing that I had. Having a father that played in the NHL and was, so good at helping me become a better player, become a better person. I had a rink in my backyard. Basically anything I asked for in terms of trying to become a better hockey player, I got. And I'm aware of how fortunate I am to have had that. And, I think, that's kind of our mission with the Marlies, is to give kids that opportunity and that advantage. And, and we'd like to, help kids that financially, it's becoming a sport that it costs a lot. And, how do we help in that area? How do we give kids an advantage that wouldn't otherwise have one? So yeah, those are all things that we're looking to do. And it's something that, I'm passionate about, and it's something that I really want to be involved in. And when I'm done playing, but I think, as I'm playing currently, it's nice to take those steps to be able to walk into that when you're done. And I think for me personally, it takes some of the stress off of playing and being like, oh, I got to extend my career because I don't know what's next. It's more just, I'm playing because I love it and I want to keep playing. And I know that I can set those things up, but kind of behind the scenes, so that when I do retire, I can kind of walk into it. But yeah, I mean, in terms of what I'm passionate about and what I want to do after, I think being able to help the next generation is something that's really important to me and to my family. So hopefully I can do that.
It's a hard question to ask some guys because I feel like it's like some guys are just solely focused on if they were to shift their mindset and think about what's after their career, they maybe start thinking that their career is over and it brushes off on how they're like what their approach is to the game. But like, I don't know, there's just something about like, I feel like I did a lot of thinking about and I allowed my other interests to start coming in as even like now, I mean, and the last couple of years. But I think a lot of like guys get caught just hockey, and they forget. One of the negative things I think like about hockey is it almost takes away your interests outside of the game, like whether it's music or cooking or like whatever it is. I think it's so important for guys to have those outlets. You know what I mean? And maybe I wish that at a younger age I could have focused more and been accepted for it more. But I think like at a younger age, you almost get like you pick up on those negative things about hockey, whether it's like going out and drinking and like those stereotypical hockey, the mold of a hockey player, if you know what I mean. Like what sticks out to you, like outside of your career, like interests and things like that maybe the average hockey fan wouldn't know.
Well, yeah, I don't know.
It's not your two-touch. It's not your two-touch soccer tennis game.
No, it's not. No, it's not. I mean, I've always been like all in on hockey all the time. And I think that, I look back at getting sent to the minors a few times, and it kind of like, I guess it's almost like a near death experience in a way, like not life wise, but hockey wise. You're like, okay, it will come to an end. What kind of steps am I taking so that I'm happy and well adjusted when it's over? And it's something I've worried about. I mean, it's all I've ever done and all I've ever known, is playing hockey, and I love it so much. I mean, the season ends and I want to be back on the ice a week later. Like it's and I love that. I love that about it. Like I love going to the rink and being able to work on my game. And when that day inevitably comes that I don't get to do that anymore, I know it'll be a source of stress for me. So yeah, I mean, I've tried to focus a lot on building other interests, and being involved with the Marlies is one of them. And you and I talk about Muskoka a lot, but I love my time there. I love being able to kind of unplug and get away and be on the lake and be with my family. So yeah, I mean, I think as a hockey player, and those are the things that with the next generation as well. I mean, you talk about pressure in youth sports now, and I want the kids to be able to develop other interests and be well rounded, so that when the inevitable struggle comes, as it does for everybody, it doesn't hit you as hard, and you can lean on other things. And it's something that I've been really cognizant of. Kind of the back half of my career is trying to focus on those things and being aware of my mental health and how I'm feeling, and where it's going to take me, so that I think about it a lot.
Yeah. Are you a wake surfer?
Not so much anymore with kids. I mean, it's kind of hard to get out on the just on the boat with my buddies without the kids bouncing around. I remember the one time we did it, and the boat's bouncing around and my kids are flying everywhere, and I'm like, all right, maybe. So I actually sold my wake surfing boat and bought just kind of a cruiser. But yeah, it's being at the lake with the kids is awesome.
I remember your one boy was kind of getting into fishing. Did that move forward at all, or?
Yeah, he likes it. He just loves being at the cottage, like swimming and fishing. And I remember. So Connor Hellebuck is a huge fisherman, And he was asking me the other day, like, oh, like he found out I lived on the lake, and he's asking me about like where are the good fishing spots, and I'm like, I don't know. He's like, what kind of rods do you have? And I'm like, I got a couple Paw Patrol rods that I bought for my kids, but my sons do like it. I don't. It's I'm sure I'll get there. Yeah.
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 It's good. It's nice and relaxing.
It is.
We still
yeah.
have our fishing boat if you want to buy it.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Okay, I feel like I said, I'm obviously Oilers aren't my number one team, but I still have a very big soft spot for them. And for any of our listeners who are around the Edmonton area, I want to talk about Edmonton a little bit and more of in like a lighter fashion. Obviously, growing up or like that first, action with a Canadian city. Obviously, Edmonton fans are passionate.
Yeah.
But also there was probably a lot of good things that came from Edmonton for you. I mean, playing at Rexall, one of the greatest rinks in the world. But as you look back on your time in Edmonton, obviously Joey sticks out. But what else? Like what was things that as those years were maybe a little bit tougher for the team? Like what else kind of sticks out to you?
Don't say the 8-point night either.
No, I won't. I think just like you said, I mean, it's such a passionate market, and growing up in that market, I mean, I started there at 18 years old. I love that about it. I love that, it was important every night, and people were into it. And, we went through our struggles as a team, and, I think as a young player, those are hard. It's hard to go through those struggles, but it makes you a better player. It makes you a better person. I feel fortunate for having gone through it, looking back on it. But yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about the city. I mean, the people are fantastic. Everyone's so friendly, and they were so welcoming to me right from day one. I met my wife there, and her entire family's there. And so we go back there every so often. But yeah, I mean, it was a great place to play. I really enjoyed it. I think going back for the second time, playing with Shay and being there at a different phase of my life, having kids and having a family, was really enjoyable for me as well. But yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about Edmonton.
You got a favorite restaurant?
Ooh, putting me on the spot.
The restaurant scene in Edmonton is like, as much as it's not, say, a Chicago or a Toronto, it's honestly not that bad.
Yeah, no, it's great actually.
Range Road.
Yeah.
Did you ever go there?
Yeah, I did. A little farm to table spot. It was great.
So I loved Range Road, and then when I went to Edmonton with Buffalo, Skinner made a reservation for them. I guess the last time they were in Edmonton, and all the guys were just bashing him. Just like, Skins, remember that spot you took us? Like, I guess they were like thinking they were going to get like big portion and pregame or night before the game meal. But I like Range Road.
There was a lot of great ones. Like I used to go to Sabor Divino a lot.
That
was a great spot. Uccellino's.
The best.
Yeah. There's so many great spots. It's like a really underrated restaurant scene there. And my wife, obviously being from there, had a lot of connections to different places. So, it was. We enjoyed that part of it.
Wicked.
All right, I got one topic left. I want to go after the biohacking.
Okay.
Your I don't know how it wasn't like your whole career. Have you been dialed into like fitness and wellness and all these little like the topics of conversation that I enjoyed talking to you about when I played with you was all about this. Like, was that a whole career kind of thing, or did you start learning that as you got older?
Yeah, well, I'm not really like that. I mean, you touched on my 2-touch game earlier. I'm not that physically gifted of an athlete, so I have to work at it, and I'm always looking for an edge in terms of recovery and wellness and all those different types of things. But Yeah, I think it's grown over the years. I went through, some injury troubles early in my career that, it wakes you up to how you have to take care of yourself. And then you just kind of add things as you go along. And I think
What's the latest?
I probably go overboard with it. I don't know. I got this. I'm sitting right now. I got a pulse electromagnetic field mat I'm sitting on. I wear like a pneumatic device around my head to sleep sometimes.
Are you a
I got
mouth
it all.
taper?
What's that?
Are you a
No,
mouth
I haven't
taper
done
when
the
you
mouth
sleep?
taping yet. It was funny. Like Blake Wheeler is big into it as well, and
Mhm.
our wives were fighting the other night about who has like more modalities that they bring on the road with them. And I was like, Rach, I think he actually has me beat. I think he might be the one guy that has me beat. She's like,
You
"There's
should
no
have the
way," and
count off.
you should see how much luggage he brings. But he's got but it's he's been a great player in this league for a long time because of it. And I think
Yeah.
any advantage you can get, you look for it. And I try to do that just to recover and stay healthy. And even if it's just placebo, I think it's helped a lot.
Have you ever gotten into like the whole like foot health thing? Like,
Yeah.
you see guys like rolling their feet out and things like
Yep,
that, but
yep,
I just like I said earlier, I busted up my hip and I went to see a physio guy and he gave me like this little it would be like the size of like a bigger marble
yeah,
and you stand on it. I always heard like a too small of a ball was bad for you because
yeah.
it damages the muscle.
Okay,
But he's like, just find your spot, stand on it, like let it go, breathe.
yeah,
And I've been doing it and my hip has felt so much better. And then he gave me a wooden spoon, just like a wooden kitchen
yeah,
spoon, to dig in the top of your foot, like the metatarsals, like
yeah,
in
yeah.
between, and get all that tissue up between your tendons. Man, my foot, I get my ankle, my foot, all the way up. It feels so much better.
Well, it's
Knock
wild. I
on
mean,
wood.
everything's connected, right? And for us as hockey players, like our foot is in a boot, like constantly.
Mm-hmm.
So the more that you can wake those muscles up, and I mean, I've gotten big into. I don't know if you use them, floss bands this year. So like I wrap them around my joints. They're like these like red bands you just wrap
Yeah.
around your joints
Yeah.
really tightly, and then I do like a lot of my activation with the floss bands on my hips or my knees or my ankles. And I'm doing all these different moves with my arms as I'm doing it. And guys are like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Boys, the fascial lines, they all connect, like that's just the way it
Yeah.
is." And then I got a couple guys come up to me the other day, like, "Hey, can you teach me?" I'm like, "Yeah, I could teach you how to do it." Like you were making fun of it, but
You were
exactly,
chirping me 2 days ago. No,
exactly. So,
but
but yeah, I mean, the more, I mean, we talked about it a lot when we were in Edmonton together. We're listening to different podcasts on health and well-being, and different little biohacks that can help you. And I think the more you can add, I mean, obviously you don't want to go too overboard because mentally that's another thing.
yeah,
But yeah, if you can keep you healthy and keep you going, why not?
yeah, spice it up a little. It
Yeah,
gets boring doing the same thing over and
exactly.
over. So you
Yeah,
might as well
exactly.
learn a bit.
Just grab
Yeah.
a marble and a wooden spoon, eh, Rouse?
Boom, you're good to go.
All right,
I got it right here, fellas.
on
Oh,
command.
yeah. Well, hopefully you're
Um,
not cooking with that. Just rubbing your feet with it. Yeah,
We have like three. I came
there you
home and we
go.
already had three of them.
Perfect. You're
But
good to go.
Ty, what do you got? You got anything else?
no, I think that was that was awesome. I really enjoyed that, and yeah, I mean, I could always, especially a guy that's played in Edmonton for years, and even Austria. I've been over there, and it's we could talk about Austria for a long time too. I'm sure what a
Yeah.
beautiful country, but
Yeah, it was awesome.
yeah, I don't have much. I think for the most part, this was everything I wanted to chat about was covered, and I really appreciate the fact that you shared a little bit about even what you guys are doing with the Jets, and
Mhm.
I mean, I wish you guys a ton of success because it's
Yeah.
you guys are a fun team to watch, and especially I mean,
Yeah.
guys like as Colby calls him, Josh Norrisy.
Yeah, that's right.
Seeing his breakout. I got a friend who's really good friends with him, and it's just fun to watch. And I think they really do appreciate having a guy like yourself with your perspective with all the, like that quote, difficult roads lead to beautiful destinations. And as much as, we diminish our adversity and our story sometimes because you look at other people's stories in adversity, but I mean, it's been a grind. And I think it all goes back to the fact that, 1,000 games later, you're still doing it. So congratulations. And
thank you.
We'll keep you on for a couple minutes after just to let this bad boy load up. But Riles, I think I'm good.
Yeah. Well, thanks guys.
That was great.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys having me on. I'm hopeful I didn't give away too many of the Jets secrets to our success, but no, I think it's important to have the conversation and spark change. I think what you guys are doing is awesome. I mean, being able to navigate kind of the challenges of an adversity throughout your life is it's something that's really important, and you have to have those open lines of communication. You have to be able to talk about it. So I think what you guys are doing is awesome. And I'm wishing you guys the best of luck going forward here.
Thanks, Gaggy. Congrats on 1,000 and all the best.